Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Inner. Today I'm joined by Kate Unger. Hello.
Oh, that was quick. Hi, Nelson. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. It's great to have you on.
Thank you
If-
for inviting me. It surprised me, so I'm excited to see what shows up and
yeah,
what Holy Spirit has for us today.
that's awesome. So, if you could introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, where do I begin? My name is Kate Unger, as you can see by my name on the screen. And Nelson and I met a few years ago. I was introduced to him by a very good friend that always finds forward thinkers, deeper thinkers. And she said she'd love to share with me because I never rolled my eyes at her when she did something that was different. So she felt comfortable with sending me things. And so Nelson and I have had the blessing of spending some time together. It's been all of our communication has been really a blessing. It really has been. So that's been amazing. I uh, I feel like I live a really big life in the way that it's an adventure. And so my husband and I now live in Mexico. We've lived there for 2 years. And at the moment, I am in Canada. We are in Canada taking care of my mother in law. And I am a vocalist, I'm a shiatsu therapist, I'm a podcaster, I'm an author, I'm a healthy lifestyle coach. I've lived for a long time, and so I've put on a lot of different hats, and they all integrate themselves into one another. And I call myself a God centered woman. Uh, I don't really like names and labels so much and so I God centered kind of works for me. When I come up with another label of sorts, then perhaps I'll change that. But thank you for having me on your call.
Awesome. It's great to have you on because though we haven't gotten to talk too much, you've always been someone that was active. That's like you let your spirituality bring you where it's going and you don't put limits on yourself. And I've always respected that about you.
Thank you.
Um, So let's talk a little bit about your spiritual journey. Where did you start off and how did you end up where you are now?
I grew up in a Mennonite Brethren home, and so a lot of, I guess, legalism is the word. And my parents taught us what they knew and did teach us very, very good things. The belief system or the church was not an empowering space to really have people live into, but create more limitation and stay inside this box. And I've never been able to do that in my life. I've always questioned everything. As a girlfriend of mine that's known me for most of my life said to me the other day, she said, "This isn't a new thing." She said, "You started questioning really young." My first confrontation with was that I recall with a teacher was when I was in grade 4, and they decided that they wanted to teach creation, and I said, "You can't teach that and not teach." And they were teaching evolution, and I said, "You can't teach evolution unless you're also going to teach creation." I was
Hmm.
really angry. So here I was in grade 4 yelling at the teacher. So uh, I left. I left not physically, but spiritually. I think I left the church at about 13, 14 years old. And every time I went to church, I would cry, and I never knew why. Um, when I was able to make the choice to not go, I didn't. I was angry at God for a long time. I never denied his existence, but I denied him my heart. And I don't even know that I knew why I was angry. But I had experiences that I had buried so deep in my life that there was a lot of things I didn't remember. I suffered trauma, I suffered abuse, and didn't even remember until I'd gotten to a place of I didn't know at the time, but it was what you would classify as panic attacks. I would have hallucinations. And whenever I got too close to someone, I would see the face of the devil in them. And it was quite a journey. I spent my life sort of running away from relationships and running away from familiarity. I would only stay at jobs for a certain amount of time before I would change that. And spiritually, I was grew more and more close to God in my own way. People would say to me, "Oh, you're new age." And I go, "I don't even know what that means." So whatever, you know. I became a shiatsu therapist in my 40s, late 30s. And in the learning of that and working with energy and helping people heal, my journey became closer and closer with God. I recognized him more and more in my life. And I started to meet people that would question. They'd say, "Oh, you do energy work?" One lady came in one day and she says, "Oh, you do energy work? Whose energy are you using?" I went, I was taken aback by the question. And I said, "God's. Whose else?" And that was a recognition for me in response as well. So as time went on, I'd gotten married. I was divorced in a very short period of time. I was still in my 20s and met my now husband many years later. And he was a God centered man his whole life. And he's been a big influence in my journey with God. He's always encouraged me to be more, not less, in my life. He's never looked at me strangely, as so many people had done in my past, because my thinking was always outside the box.
Hmm.
And he said, even though I don't understand, I can still hear, I can still listen. And his gentleness, his love, and the way that he held space for me really created an environment for me to fall in to God, to
Hmm.
surrender, to open, to journey. So I think that kind of is a pretty good overview as far as the wave of the wave of journey.
Yeah, so that's powerful. So, how would you describe your relationship with God right now?
I am learning to have more conversation as opposed to one way. I hear much more readily, much more quickly if I ask a question. I rest when I ask a question and know that when he thinks I'm ready, I will hear the answer. So sometimes answers are given very quickly, and often he gives me questions to ask. And that's a really cool thing because it helps me to look at things in a different way because the question redirects for me to see something else that's a much bigger picture. And there's more and more presence, and I always ask for more presence. And I know that uh, it's not about him not being present, it's my ability
Hmm.
to accept and to receive him in a bigger way. And that's always my desire is that I know that you are here. I want to experience more of you. And again, I'm getting more and I was going to say more better, but that's not very good English. I'm learning more and more to rest in that when I am ready, that will show up.
Hmm.
And so the other part of that is that I'm learning is we have been given so much power and we use so little of it. And I have to remember to always be in a space of practice. so that I can learn and grow, as opposed to, well, I don't know how to do that yet. And then I go, well, why don't I just try this? Right. And because our journeys are so unique, I'm letting go of right and wrong and this, like, well, you have to do it this way or it's not going to happen. I don't believe that,
Hmm.
because our journey is that intimacy with Him. And so I can give, when I'm working on helping someone understand, I'm going to say, well, this is how I experience it. But why don't you just try having a conversation? And then the better you get at having a conversation, the more you are going to experience them. And it may be a totally different experience than it is for me.
Hmm. I like that. Like that dialogue was foundational for me when I was first starting out. It's something that never went away because once you get comfortable asking and hearing feedback, it makes everything else so simple. You just ask more questions. And if the
Yeah.
answer doesn't make sense, you just ask that same question a different way, or you keep asking until it finally clicks. And then,
Yeah.
at this stage, I've been in this about a decade. There's answers I look back on and I'm like, wow, there was more in that I didn't recognize. They like to give layered answers. That's why it's so simple a lot of times.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like, this is what you're ready to understand. So whatever, it's kind of like if you give the same book to someone, they're going to get something different out of it than you are,
yeah.
right?
Speaking of books, I didn't know you were an author. So tell me a little bit about some of the books or the book that you've written already.
I've only written one, and it's a book that is a very small book, but it took me a long time to write. It's called Health Bites: 11 Hot Tips for Hot and Healthy Living. And I created it because there were so many big books and philosophies on ways to eat and do things this way and do things that way. I went, you know what? People need just a basic structure. And so I wanted to come up with, it was supposed to be 10 tips, but it turned into 11. And it on one page it'll say, here's a suggested health bite. On the other side of the page, it tells you how to implement it and why you want to implement it. So when people know why they should do something or it's a good idea, then they're more likely to remember. You
Yeah.
know, so that's kind
Yeah.
of a cool little book. It's 30. I think it's 33 pages.
Hmm. Yeah. Hey, that's powerful on its own. Because, like you said, especially for us that read a lot, we know how many books could just be one book.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, yeah.
Like that was my frustration with a lot of books. I'm like, I didn't need to buy this.
No, no. It's called
uh
gettothepoint.com.
yeah. And that's why like my teaching style is so different than most because I try to get to the point as quick as possible without fluff or filler. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that in that market because especially in the health world, there's a lot of fear mongering and over explaining that goes on where it's like, if you eat processed foods, you're going to die yesterday. It's like, okay, it's a bit extreme. I have people in their 90s that have only ever eaten processed food. It's not going to kill you immediately. There are better options. There's a better way to live. Less aches
Mm-hmm.
and pains. You know, getting over the extremes. Because yeah, like dealing with trying to get people to take care of themselves is a journey on its own. Just because of the commitment aspect, people not wanting to change how they already do life.
Yeah.
Not seeing it as necessary enough or seeing the work as too hard, even though it's not really that hard. Small changes over a period of time. It's about making a new normal. Same thing you might say about your spiritual journey. It's just eventually what I now consider normal is different than what I used to consider normal.
Exactly. Yeah, so true. Yes, I've gotten myself in trouble on more than one occasion when I share something and it's someone that thinks differently and thinks that I'm saying I am God. And or whatever it is. And it's like, I was really concerned about you. And I'm like, well, why are you concerned about me? Because I'm using some of the things that God gave me to do, that He said, you will do greater things than I.
Hmm.
I haven't done that yet. Not even close.
Hey, I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I saw two stages in that verse that inspired me from the beginning. I was like, okay, if you believe in me and the works that I do, those same works shall you do. I'm like, wait a minute. That means everything he did, we can do. Let's work on that.
Yeah. Well, we are always in a state of creation, always. I mean, people
Yeah.
talk about manifestation and they sell these courses on, I'm going to teach you how to manifest because you're not manifesting. Well, yeah, we always are. Because
Hmm.
we're not taking responsibility for creating the mess that we've created.
Yeah. I
Oh, look what
call
happened to me. Look what happened to me. I had nothing to do with it.
yeah, I call the state of humanity like a big group project. I hate group projects because I was the kid in school that would just work on it the night before and get it all done. Group projects bothered me because then I have to incorporate other people into the blueprint, and I got to find, okay, you can do that part. Now I got to trust you to do your part. That's what life is like. We're all co-creating the existence we're complaining about.
Mm-hmm.
But something I wanted to pry on just a little bit more. Talk a little bit more about your therapy, your energy work therapy that you were doing, shiatsu therapy.
Okay, so shiatsu is its roots come from Chinese medicine. We use the same pressure points as they use in acupuncture.
Hmm.
And so it's a physical work. I actually was a very physical therapist in that way. When I started to do energy work, I basically my aunt would do energy work, and I ended up asking her if she could teach a 1 day workshop. And so then I had a few other people come, and I can't remember whatever the title was. It doesn't really matter. Um, but just what I found, that in the stillness, when I would really get grounded and just be in the stillness of it, so much more would move than by my own physical pressure. And that's such a huge, I'm not going to say aha moment, but I think a huge reminder on a regular basis is when we stand in a place of trying to fix something or trying to change something, as opposed to, um, hang on one second. Ay, ay, ay. Sorry about that. Okay. When we're in that space, we're not connected. We are doing things of our own volition. We are doing them without God. I'm sorry, are you hearing ringing in your ears? Turn it off. Sorry. And so in the trying space, there's so many things that we do without God that we don't realize that we're doing without God. And so there was a verse in the Bible, and I can't tell you what it is. Maybe you can tell me, but it is, meditate on my word day and night.
Hmm.
The first time that I read that, I was literally indignant and was like, how do you do that? How do you spend all that time doing all that? And really, where I've come to now for me is, it's basically, uh, it's my awareness of presence. That's the meditation.
Yeah.
And when I can stand in the awareness of presence, I am in that space of being in a, like in a meditative space in a way, and in conversation, in relationship, in energy of. And so when I would do energy work, that's where I would sit.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'd actually fall asleep. I never told anybody that before. I'm sitting at the end of the table holding somebody's head, and I'm like,
Hey, that's how it works. Recalibration gets us all.
uh huh.
Like something I've had to like comfort people in since I've been in this is a lot of people feel bad about falling asleep when they pray or when they meditate or when they're just whatever they're doing. And I tell them, I'm like, think about it like this. When God made Adam and decided to separate them into male and female, he put them to sleep first. Sleep is proof that surgery is happening. You don't go and have surgery done on yourself and you stay wide awake the whole time. There's an anesthesia that you get that's supposed to put you to sleep while the work is being done. People are like, oh, that's it. Nothing wrong with that. So not they're like, oh, I've been sleeping so good lately. I'm like, oh, okay. But
Yeah, there's a lot of work being done when we're asleep.
yeah, so that's pretty powerful. Like, especially with because a lot of people struggle to stay in the flow of the spirit while doing things they consider outside of the spirit. And it seems like you're doing that somewhat well. Like something like shiatsu, which some people wouldn't consider spiritual. I do. You found a way to stay in the flow and even find a greater resolve in being, or let's just say abiding in the presence, because that's pretty much what I think you're describing here is meditating on the word day and night isn't having an audio book of the Bible playing in your ear 24/7. It's learning to abide in the presence, or they would say, in him do we live, move, and have our being. I think that's what meditation on the word really looks like. It's there's no aspect of life that's void of spirit.
Exactly. Beautifully said.
So another thing that I wanted to talk about was your music. I want to say we talked before, and you were in jazz, if
Hmm.
that's correct.
And I'm
Talk-
still singing.
Yeah.
Right now, not as much where we are, because well, we're in Canada, so I'm not in the space of. Um, it's interesting. I seem to have found a new level. I've been going through some really big challenges recently. I had another brother that recently died. There's been a lot of grieving. I've lost a lot of family members since 2022, and went as I've gone through a lot of grieving, and I noticed the last while. I feel like there's a lot that's being done in me. I'm having confrontations that I'm on a conscious level. I'm not. um I shouldn't say a lot. I've had some big confrontations that have been really difficult. It kind of put me back into a place of a bit of trauma, and anxiety was ignited through it. And again, when challenges are coming to me now, I'm learning to remember to say, this is the next level. What is coming? What is coming? What is coming that God has created for me to do next, for be next, for this difficulty, this challenge that I'm experiencing right now. And I noticed the other day, just as I started to sing, how my whole body, I was covered in God bumps from head to foot. As soon as I just opened my mouth and I started to sing, and I went, wow, the flow and the liveness that I feel is coming to a more heightened space, I think, now. I noticed in the last year, I'm singing and I can't describe it. I'm singing with canned. I'm not even playing with real like live musicians. I'm playing with backing tracks. I'm singing with backing tracks. And one of the things that I wanted to do, because in Mexico it's sometimes more difficult to find musicians that do the music that I do. And so I decided that I was going to start looking for backing tracks that were matched my expression, matched what I wanted to do. And Bruce, my husband, is a sound guy. He took recordings that he created out of live performances that I'd done and took my voice out and gave me the backing track to use to perform with. And so this year, I decided not to seek performance in the sense of getting paid. I've offered to sing in places, and I also went to every open mic that we had in our village because he does the sound for them all. Anyway, so it's we get to spend the time together. And so I've gone in and I can't tell you what I've said, but it was I just wanted to be more present inside the song and to be more in the space of because I know that for me that when I sing, it's my expression of love. So it's my channel of love. And I'm noticing such differences and the impact that it seems to be having on the people that are there. And I can't tell you what that is, but it's magical.
Hmm.
It's a space of miracles. I had someone say to me once, well, you heal people one at a time. Why don't you do it from stage where you can reach more people? And you know what? You don't have to stand up and preach. You don't have to stand up and speak. You can use music. You can sing, you know,
Yeah.
without even, it's the beingness, not necessarily the song that people can be moved by too.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie? It's a Disney Pixar movie, Soul.
It's called what?
Soul.
As in Soul?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
That's a powerful movie that really is about what you just described. Even down to the fact that it's about a jazz artist
Oh, I guess
and
I
his
gotta watch it.
struggle to enter into the flow state. And it's like,
That's exactly what I feel like is happening.
yeah, like it's pretty much it's when people find something that gives their soul purpose and their soul is able to flow with it, they enter into this state of bliss, they enter into this state of ecstasy, they enter into this state of divinity. This Christhood starts to flow through them, and it carries an energy that it didn't before. Even if they're doing the same thing, it's coming from a different place now.
Yeah.
um I tell some of the other musicians that I talk to that that's how someone like James Brown was able to have a hit record with only one lyric. It's just him saying please over and over again. It wasn't complex lyrics, it's just the emotion and the feeling. His soul was able to impart itself and everyone felt it. uh and jazz on its own is like the most powerful form of music in itself. It's ancient, um going all the way back to even ancient Egypt. I'm a little
Oh,
biased. It
yeah.
was their form of music. They spelled it a little different, but the it was based on portraying emotion, um, and imparting information rather than just something whimsical to play in the background. It was melodic, it was nice to listen to, but it broke a lot of the rules of what would then later become the laws of music theory.
Oh,
It's like
interesting.
jazz plays by its own rules.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
uh, so it's in its own way, it's able to play the frequency of the audience. It tunes a whole lot better. So yeah, you've been given a space to pretty much just impart where you go. You're going on miracle crusades and you're not looking at it that way.
Nice. No. No. Didn't see it that way.
All right. So I wanted to give you space, kind of just to share any wisdom you might want to have the audience take from you, any advice you might have for progressing in spiritual journeys, getting to know God more and more. I kind of just want to open the floor up for the next few minutes.
Okay. There's so I think we actually touched on a couple of really important things is wherever it is that you are in your belief and your journey is know that God is always there within you. And it's not his lack of presence, it's mine.
Mhm.
Or if I'm speaking to you, it's yours. And so whatever it is for you and your way of being, your personality, what it is that works for you is finding that and being okay with it. Like I often will say to people, you don't have to know how to play. God knows what you want to say, right? Just have that conversation and practice that conversation because it's the only way that we can ever get better. And remember that the word try, you can leave out of your vocabulary because try is a failure. It's the simplest word that it's almost like it weakens us. What is it that Yoda said? There is no try,
Only do.
that only do. So when you try to stand up, do you stand up or do you try to stand up? You stand up. And so know that every single effort, every single bit that you find is relevant. You are relevant. You are important. And that God knows you and He knows me. And all of the agreements that I've ever made in my life and what and my generations of agreements have made, I don't consciously know them. Do I have to? In my eyes, there are people that are very detail oriented and they'll break things down. If that's you, if a ritual is for you, that's okay. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And begin when I recognized I spent more money taking courses, classes, personal development than you could shake a stick at. Because I always thought that I was missing a piece and that I needed to learn something else before I.
Mhm.
And when I was constantly in a state of frustration. And when I finally realized that my frustration was more about the fact that I was trying to get into a door that I wasn't supposed to go in,
Mhm.
right? Because it wasn't my door. It wasn't for me. It wasn't a match for me. And so when I started to say, now I can go and listen to someone and I can learn what is there for me and I can let go of the rest. And that your way with God is the only way for you. And that's good. It's not, I heard the words so often, well, if you don't do this, you won't be successful. If you don't do it, if you don't have my program, if you don't have my way of doing it, if you don't have this, I always tell people, I'm going to tell you what my experience and my journey is. I want you to go talk to God about what yours is. There'll be some pointers and some tips where I can like maybe do some elevation with you, but then you have that relationship and you can practice anything that you think of. And it's like, you know what, all I'm going to do is get better, and I can practice for as long as I want and as much as I want. And it's just, you're just going to grow and you're going to grow and you're going to grow. It's your journey and it's
Mhm.
perfect.
Awesome. That was powerful. I definitely wish we had more time, but might see about getting you on again because this was great.
Thank
Where can
you. It
people
was.
connect with you, and where can they find your books or your projects or anything else?
I'm on social media. My just as my name is here, and you should be able to recognize me. Just type in my name and under Facebook, you'll find me there. I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram and working on getting there more. I'm doing my own pace, and that's that'll work. And you can reach
Awesome.
out to me there, and we can connect by phone. We can connect by chat. Easy to reach out. Just say
Awesome.
Nelson sent you.
That's great. So it was great getting to have you on. And well, y'all, that concludes this episode
Thank
of
you.
The Inner. Be sure to check out Kate and see what else she has going on. She's always doing stuff. She's one of the busiest people I know. Uh, but until next time, y'all be blessed. Later.